how far did the rumbling reach, and did you manage to survive it? This video is all about the most terrifying weapon humanity ever faced. Today we're going to try to measure the extent of this devastating weapon and figure out which parts got hit the most. This video will have spoilers as we are going to address events from the final chapters of the manga. I will try to keep the spoilers relevant only to the topic of this video, which is the rumbling. So consider this if you decide to keep on watching, and also subscribe and drop me a like if you enjoy. Something to clear up first. There is no accurate way to calculate everything we are going to talk about. There is simply not enough information, although Isayama did drop a few major clues that we will explore. So unlike my video revealing how many titans are inside the walls, where I used a lot of math to give you a very accurate number, in this video we will rely more on clues, logical assumptions, and also 3D visuals that I prepared with zero talent specifically for this video to help you visualize the rumbling. So naturally, everything we're going to talk about here is my own interpretation, but I promise to give you enough details to back up my claims. And I will start with a question. In this panel, is the sun rising or setting? Don't answer now. Think about it and we will answer it later using a very unique and ironic explanation that I'm sure you would like. But first, what is the rumbling? Yeah, I know, it's a bunch of enormous titans stepping on everything, but how does it actually work? The rumbling, or more precisely, the titans taking part in it, are moving in a wave-like motion. They are spreading outwards from Paradise like a wave or a giant circle, going in all directions with Paradise Island in the middle. The second thing to know is that the world map of Attack on Titan is upside down, and that Paradise Island is located where Madagascar Island in our world is located. This is a well-known fact by now, and I used it to find the name of the purple flowers in the show in my first video ever on YouTube. But regardless, this is not our world, so whenever I will mention any country in this video, it is only to determine a location, and I'm not suggesting any real countries got destroyed. If the titans spread across the globe, you would expect it to be an equal spread, like butter on toast. But the world is not flat. A moment of silence to all flat earthers. But yeah, the world is not flat, and it also has deep waters and tall mountains that would affect the spread of the rumbling. This is also one of the reasons why we can't calculate the Titan speed, simply because it is changing depending on the landscape. We also don't have an exact duration it took the Titans to reach each place, so we can't calculate the exact distance they traveled. But luckily for us, Isayama left us a few clues to understand where the rumbling stopped. In chapter 134, we see the rumbling reaching those high cliffs, and as people fall to their death, they try to save a baby. In chapter 137, we see the rumbling stopping immediately the moment Levi broke the connection between the two brothers. The activation of the rumbling was also dependent on Zeke and Eren acting as the lock and the key, so as soon as this connection was over, the same happened to the rumbling. Right after that, in chapter 138, we see the baby from before alive. This is the point the Titan stopped, on those same cliffs from chapter 134. It is not the same location Eren's Titan is currently at, on Fort Salta, where Reiner's mom and all the others are watching from a distance. And then I thought to myself, why was it so important to Isayama to jump to this specific location again to show this is where it stopped? Did he do it to spare this little child? Or is this some sign? Those cliffs looked very iconic to begin with, and you know me, I love checking out random things, so I started a search for giant cliffs and the end of the world. And soon enough I found this, the Bunda Cliffs, located in Australia. And funny enough, it is also known as the end of the world. And then it hits me, Isayama stopped the rumbling figuratively at the end of the world, and that sounds like something he would do. But besides that, look at the incredible resemblance between those cliffs and the Bunda Cliffs. I believe the clear resemblance, the title, The End of the World, and the direction the Titans are going all make Australia a very reasonable choice. So that is my first assumption, that the rumbling stopped in Australia. For now, it is only an assumption, but we will back it up as we go. Now that we know where it started and where it ended, we can make our first uneducated measurement to see the scale of the rumbling. Let's mark it on this upside down map. This is Paradise at the center. This is the current Empire of Marley. This is where the Middle Eastern Alliance is located. Remember them? They are the fleets that the Beast Titan demolished on Fort Slava. Funny enough, this is also where our world Middle East is located and also where I live. And this region should be the nation of Hizuru, which in our world is where Asia is located. Lastly, we will place the edge of the circle on Australia to finish our simplistic sketch. This is not so accurate for several reasons. We already talked about the Titans walking at different speeds, so the circle cannot be perfect. And also this is a flat representation of Earth, which, as we all know, is not flat. Another moment of silence for flat earthers. But anyway, that makes our circle less accurate on a 2D surface, and I will show you how it looks like in 3D soon. But first, let's give our circle a test. Let's inspect the edges of the circle and compare it to the manga, because there are more points of interest to examine. In chapter 134 we got 2 more places with recognizable landmarks. Along with the people in the Bunda Cliffs, we have a panel of a bridge and a clock tower in the background. This bridge looks very much like Tower Bridge in London, which should not be mistaken for London Bridge. It could have been just a random bridge, but Isayama also added the clock tower, which is also a very recognizable landmark in London, the Big Ben. And if we look at our world map, we indeed see England on the edge of that circle. Now let's address the next panel where we see people praying in front of the upcoming Titans. It's hard to tell for sure, but to me, this looks pretty much like Japan. The sun in the background, the buildings, and the clothes all reminds me of Japan, and mostly this gate, which looks very similar to a torii gate found in Shinto shrines in Japan. These gates symbolically mark the transition between regular life and the sacred life. All those little marks, along with the fact that Isayama himself is Japanese, make me assume this is some version of Japan. And that is also my second assumption for this video that we will address soon. But just like before, let's check Japan on our marked map, and again we see the edge of the circle also lands in Japan. So from a 2D point of view, it looks like all the area within this circle got trampled, with some parts of Europe and Asia that were left untouched. We don't have a lot of references or source material in our story about the continents representing South and North America, but it seems that South America got hit a little, but this is an upside down world, so it's actually North, and of course, also not really America. The Titans should have also reached Antarctica, but also here it's upside down, so maybe they're in the North Pole? I don't know, but in any case, this is the damage extent from a 2D point of view, so let's check it out in 3D. Here I placed a 3D model of planet Earth. I made sure to place Paradise or Madagascar on top. Now I will create a 3D surface to emulate the rumbling. I will lower it so it will create some sort of circle coming out of Paradise. I will stop when the circle will reach Australia, which is here on the globe. We got a split Earth. On the top, we see all the affected areas we just talked about, and everything below that is the area that was left untrampled. Everyone below the rumbling line, congratulations, you are saved. And yes, I know Isayama said 80% of humanity got perished, but we don't really know how many people are on those upside down America. And it's perfectly possible that most of humanity did live in the areas that were struck by Titans, resulting in the deaths of most of humanity. It's also possible that Isayama exaggerated a bit. After all, it did say there are millions of Titans inside the walls, when there are actually this many Titans, like I calculated for you before. So we all know we can buff the numbers sometimes. And now, for my question from before. Is this sun setting or rising in this panel? The answer is sunset, and for this explanation I will rely on my second assumption, that this is some version of Japan or Asia. The Titans are marching in all directions. To reach the upside version of Asia and Japan, they need to march to the southeast, in that direction. The sun always rises from the east because of the Earth's rotation. You can Ugrer it if you want. But yeah, the sun rises from the east and sets in the west. So if the Titans would reach Japan with the sun in front of them, they would be facing the sunrise, because they move east and the sun rises from the east. But in this panel, we see the sun behind the Titans as they move east, and that means that this sun is now setting to the west behind them. And yes, you can say that this is the upside down world, so maybe this is also upside down, but I don't think so. Isayama always wanted to show the dawn of humanity. Japan is known as the land of the rising sun, so I think Isayama did it intentionally, showing the Titans with the sun in the background. The sun is now setting on the land of the rising sun, to signify the downfall of humanity. Thank you so much for joining me today, my Titan-loving friends. I always try to bring you unique videos about things that are not discussed so much in this fandom, so I really hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, tell me in the comments, I would love to hear your thoughts. And if you haven't already, don't forget to like and subscribe, it helps me a lot. I will see you all real soon in my next video and even sooner in the comments, but until then, always remember to dedicate your hearts to humanity, inside and outside the walls.